The cold air of the Siron warship clung to Lily's skin like frostbite. The cargo hold, cavernous and dimly lit, stretched endlessly before her, the shadows pulsating as if alive. She was small, just a 6-year-old girl with tangled blonde hair and tear-streaked cheeks, shivering in her tattered dress. The Siron warlords stood above on the high platform, their dark cloaks billowing as they watched her with detached amusement. "Bring forth the offering," commanded the tallest among them, his voice a jagged whisper through the ship's intercom. Lily was yanked forward, her small wrists bruising under the grip of an alien guard. The floor beneath her was slick with condensation, and she stumbled as she was shoved toward the pit at the center of the hold. It yawned like the mouth of a sleeping beast, and in a way that's exactly what it was. A deep rumble shook the floor, sending dust cascading from the metal rafters. From the darkness, 2 massive yellow eyes snapped open. The war beast had awoken. The Siron were conquerors, ruthless and efficient. For centuries they had used the war beast as an instrument of terror, unleashing it upon civilizations that dared resist their dominion. Entire cities had been reduced to rubble under its claws. And now, after decades of dormancy, the creature would be roused with blood. Lily's blood. She didn't scream as she was thrown into the pit. Perhaps it was because she had spent the last several days in a haze of terror so profound that it numbed her senses. Or perhaps it was because she knew there was no point. No one was coming to save her. The moment her tiny frame hit the cold floor of the pit, the shadows shifted. A vast, hulking form moved, its thick scales scraping against the metal walls. The beast's breath was hot, filling the space with the scent of something ancient, something wild. Lily scrambled back on her hands and knees, her heart hammering against her ribs. Above, the Siron warlords watched in silence, their expressions unreadable. They expected carnage, they expected screams. Instead, the war beast hesitated. It loomed over her, a towering colossus of sinewy muscle and jagged, bone-like protrusions. Its eyes, glowing like twin suns, bore into her unblinking. Its claws, each the size of her entire body, flexed against the floor, creating deep gouges in the metal. Lily couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then, with a low, grumbling growl that vibrated through her very bones, the creature did something that defied all logic, all expectation. It lowered its head. Lily's breath hitched. Her mind screamed at her to run, to hide, but her body betrayed her. Instead, her small, trembling hand reached forward, an instinct, a desperate plea. She brushed her fingers against the beast's snout, her skin ghosting over the rough scales. The war beast flinched, but it did not attack. A stunned silence filled the air. The Siron warlords stiffened. One of them took an unconscious step forward, gripping the railing as if needing confirmation that what they were witnessing was real. Lily swallowed hard, her voice a whisper. "You're not going to hurt me, are you?" The beast let out a deep, guttural sound. Not a growl, something softer. A sound no one had ever heard it make before. Above, the lead warlord's face twisted in fury. "This is unacceptable." His voice was sharp, laced with something that sounded disturbingly close to fear. He turned to the guards. "Activate the shock protocol. If the beast will not feed, then it will be made to obey." Lily barely had time to react before the walls of the pit crackled with a sudden, violent burst of energy. The beast howled in pain as electricity surged through its massive body. It staggered, its tail whipping dangerously close to Lily, but even in its agony, it did not lash out at her. The warlord sneered. "Again," the leader commanded. The second wave of electricity was stronger. The beast roared, the sound rattling the very foundations of the ship. Lily covered her ears, eyes wide in horror as she saw the creature's legs tremble under the onslaught. It was in pain, real pain. Something inside her snapped. "Stop it," she screamed, scrambling to her feet. "Stop hurting him." The warlords paid her no heed. The electricity continued, the beast's snarls turning guttural and desperate. And then, in a move so swift it was nearly imperceptible, the war beast surged forward, not in attack but in desperation. Its massive tail coiled around Lily, shielding her from the storm of energy. The air went still. Above, the warlords watched in absolute stunned silence. No one spoke. No one moved. Because in that moment, they realized the unthinkable had happened. The war beast had chosen to protect its prey. The silence shattered as the leader of the warlords roared in rage. "Cease the shocks!" He turned to his officers. "Lock down the ship. Increase security in the pit. No one is to approach the beast or the human until we determine the extent of this." The other warlords hesitated, uncertainty flickering in their expressions. The war beast had never disobeyed before. It had never spared a soul. And yet, here it was, curled protectively around a human child, its massive body rising and falling with each labored breath. In the pit, Lily pressed her cheek against the beast's scales, feeling the heat of its body beneath her. She didn't know why it had spared her, why it had chosen to shield her from harm, but deep down she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She was no longer alone. Above, the warlords were already conspiring, their voices sharp and urgent. "This could change everything," one of them muttered. "If we can control the girl, perhaps we can control the beast." The leader's lips curled into a slow, dangerous smile. "Yes, we may have lost our execution, but we have gained something far more valuable." Lily felt the beast's breathing slow, its great frame relaxing around her. It wasn't just exhaustion, it was trust. She squeezed her eyes shut as a single thought cemented itself in her mind. "I have to find a way to get us out of here." Lily sat in the dim light of the pit, her small fingers tracing slow circles against the rough, scaled surface of the war beast's side. The creature, massive and coiled protectively around her, emitted a deep, rumbling sound, calm, steady, almost soothing. It was the closest thing to comfort she had felt since she had been taken from Earth. The Shiran warlords had left her there, but not out of mercy. No, they were watching, studying. They believed that if they understood why the beast had spared her, they could use that knowledge to control it. A soft metallic hum filled the air as the observation panels high above shifted open. The Shiran were always watching. Lily turned her gaze toward the nearest camera, narrowing her eyes. "They're trying to use me," she whispered, barely audible. The war beast made a low, guttural noise in response. She had no idea if it understood her, but she could sense something in its posture, an awareness, a knowing intelligence. A voice crackled through the ship's intercom, cold, commanding. "Lily," the warlord leader spoke, his tone carefully measured. "We want to help you, but you must help us first." She shivered. She hated the way they said her name, as if they owned it. The voice continued, ignoring her silence. "We know you and the beast have bonded. We do not wish to harm you, but the beast is a weapon. It must obey orders." Lily's jaw clenched. She could still see the way the war beast had writhed under the electric torture, how its body had trembled in agony but never lashed out at her, how it had curled around her, protecting her even in its own suffering. It wasn't just a weapon, it wasn't just a monster. It was something more. A hollow click sounded from the walls. The heavy doors at the far end of the pit groaned as they slid open, revealing a new figure, a Shiran scientist, draped in a pristine black uniform. He walked with the eerie stillness of someone who had long since abandoned empathy. 2 guards flanked him, weapons drawn but lowered. "Lily," the scientist said, offering a small, cold smile. "My name is Vorn. I'm here to make sure no one else gets hurt." Lily stared at him, unblinking. "He's not hurting anyone." Vorn took a slow step forward, his boots clicking against the metal floor. "Not yet, but if he refuses to obey, he will be disposed of. You don't want that, do you?" Lily's heart clenched. He was threatening her, but more than that, he was threatening the war beast. She turned back to the creature, pressing her palm against its side. It was warm beneath her fingers. Alive. So very alive. Vorn gestured toward the guards, who stepped forward and placed a small, glowing device at the center of the pit. It pulsed with blue light, sending a rhythmic hum through the chamber. "This," Vorn explained, "is a simple test." Lily swallowed hard. "If you truly have control over the beast," he continued, Then you will order it to destroy that pillar. If it obeys, we will consider allowing it to live." Lily's breath hitched. She turned to the war beast, her stomach twisting. She knew, deep down, that it would do what she asked. It had already broken its nature to protect her. But if she asked it to destroy, even something as small as a pillar, wasn't she proving the warlords right? The war beast rumbled again, shifting slightly. Its golden eyes met hers, waiting. Vorn tilted his head. "Do it, Lily." The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Lily exhaled, then nodded at the war beast. "Break it." The beast hesitated for only a moment, then with a single sweep of its tail, it shattered the pillar into fragments. The warlords above murmured among themselves. Vorn smiled, pleased. "Good girl." Lily felt sick. She had just proven she could be used. But worse, she had seen it in the war beast's eyes. It had done it, not because it wanted to, but because she had asked. Vorn took a slow step back, motioning for the guards to close the doors again. "That wasn't so hard, was it?" Lily stared at the broken pieces of the pillar, her hands clenching into fists. She had just confirmed their worst fears and their greatest hope. They could use her, and that meant they would never let her go. The war beast shifted beside her, its body pressing closer, sensing her distress. She turned her face into its scales, biting her lip. They had to get out of here, no matter what it took. That night, as the ship's artificial lighting dimmed to simulate rest cycles, Lily lay curled against the war beast's massive side, her mind racing. The warlords would keep testing them, keep pushing, seeing how much control she had over the creature. And then, eventually, they would use that control for war. She wouldn't let that happen. She wouldn't let them turn him into a weapon again. Above them, unseen behind the darkened observation panels, the warlords were already discussing their next test. But down in the pit, as the war beast let out a low, slow breath, Lily reached a decision. Tomorrow, she would not follow orders. And if that meant war with the Shiran, then so be it. The artificial night cycle aboard the Shiran warship had always been eerily silent, but tonight, the quiet felt heavier. The hum of machinery pulsed through the walls, rhythmic and unyielding, as if the ship itself were holding its breath. Lily lay awake, curled against the war beast's enormous side, her fingers idly tracing the raised ridges of its scales. Its slow, steady breathing filled the pit, warm and constant, like a great living furnace. Her mind raced. The warlords would come for her in the morning. They would demand another test, another act of obedience. She had already proven she could control the beast. Now, they would push further. She wouldn't let them. She couldn't let. She lifted her head and met the war beast's golden eyes in the dim light. "We have to do something," she whispered. The beast exhaled, a slow, deep rumble that vibrated through her bones. It was listening. She swallowed hard. "I won't make you hurt anyone, I promise." The war beast rumbled again, but this time there was something different in the sound. Understanding. Agreement. A small flicker of hope sparked in Lily's chest. She wasn't alone in this. When the warlords arrived the next morning, their expressions were unreadable. The lead warlord, his dark cloak sweeping behind him, peered down into the pit with cold scrutiny. "Lily," he said, his voice laced with forced patience, "you did well yesterday, but now we must see what your beast is truly capable of." The observation panel above slid open, revealing a new structure that had been lowered into the pit overnight. A towering, reinforced column of metal and stone stood at the center of the arena, pulsing with faint blue energy. Lily's stomach twisted. "We have placed a target drone at the top," the warlord continued. "Order the beast to destroy it." Lily's fingers clenched against her dress. She didn't look up. She wouldn't look up. Instead, she turned to the war beast, its massive body coiled beside her, its golden eyes fixed on her with quiet intensity. She had made a promise. Slowly, deliberately, Lily shook her head. The warlord's expression barely flickered. "Lily, order the beast." She took a deep breath. "No." Silence. Cold, sharp. The warlord's eyes darkened, and the guards stiffened, their weapons shifting slightly. The tension in the air grew heavy, suffocating. "Perhaps you misunderstood," the warlord said, his voice dangerously soft. "If the beast refuses, it will be punished. If it refuses again, it will be executed." Lily lifted her chin, defiance burning in her chest. "Then I guess you'll have to kill us both." For the first time, the warlord's composure cracked. A flicker of something, anger, frustration, passed over his features. He turned to his officers. "Initiate the pain protocols." Lily's heart stopped. The shock came fast. The pit was filled with a blinding flash of electricity as energy coursed through the warbeast's body. It roared in agony, its massive frame convulsing as the current tore through its nerves. The sound was unlike anything Lily had ever heard, a raw, soul-shattering cry of pain. She scrambled toward it, tears blurring her vision. "Stop it!" The warlord watched, impassive. "Obedience, Lily." The warbeast collapsed. The massive creature, once a force of unstoppable destruction, lay motionless, its breathing ragged, its golden eyes dull with exhaustion. Lily knelt beside it, her small hands shaking. "I'm sorry," she whispered, pressing her forehead against its scales. "I'm so sorry." Above, the warlord sighed, as if disappointed. "Very well." He gestured to the guards. "Leave them. We will try again tomorrow." The doors slammed shut, the heavy locks sealing them inside. Lily sat there, her whole body trembling. They had failed. She had failed. The warbeast had suffered because of her choice, and she didn't know if it would survive another round of torture. She had to think, she had to act. She had to escape. She looked up at the walls of the pit, at the towering height that separated them from the rest of the ship. Her mind raced. There had to be a way out. The warbeast stirred beside her, weak but still alive. And Lily swallowed hard. "Then we fight." The warlords thought they had broken her. They thought they had won. But in the dim light of the pit, as Lily's mind sharpened into focus, they had no idea what was coming. The pit was silent, save for the labored breathing of the warbeast. Lily sat beside it, her small hands trembling as she pressed them against its massive, scaled side. The creature's golden eyes were half-lidded, dulled by the pain it had endured. Its once mighty frame now lay limp, its tail coiled weakly around her as if still trying to protect her, even in its weakened state. Lily's heart ached. She had promised not to make it hurt anyone, but in doing so, she had allowed the Shiran to hurt it instead. The guilt gnawed at her, a relentless, gnashing thing that threatened to consume her. She had to do something. She couldn't let them break the beast. Or her. The dim light of the pit flickered, casting long shadows across the metal walls. Lily's eyes darted to the observation panels above. She knew they were watching. Always watching. But for now the warlords had left them alone, confident in their victory. They thought they had broken her spirit. They thought she would obey. They were wrong. Lily leaned closer to the warbeast, her voice a whisper. "We can't stay here," she said, her words trembling but resolute. "They'll keep hurting you. They'll keep using us. We have to fight back." The beast let out a low, rumbling sound, almost like a groan. Its eyes flickered open, meeting hers. There was something in its gaze, something ancient, something knowing. It understood. It had always understood. Lily's fingers tightened against its scales. "I don't know how to get us out of here," she admitted, her voice breaking. "But I can't let them win. Not again." The warbeast shifted slightly, its massive body stirring as if trying to gather its strength. Its tail uncoiled from around her, sliding across the floor with a slow, deliberate motion. Lily watched as it moved, her breath catching in her throat. The beast was weak, but it wasn't defeated. Not yet. Its tail came to rest near the wall of the pit, where the metal was scarred and gouged from years of battles and punishments. The beast's claws flexed weakly, scraping against the surface. Lily's eyes widened as she realized what it was doing. It was trying to communicate. She scrambled to her feet, her heart pounding. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What are you trying to tell me?" The warbeast's tail moved again, this time pressing against a specific spot on the wall. Lily followed its motion. her eyes narrowing as she studied the metal. There, hidden beneath layers of grime and scratches, was a faint seam, a crack in the wall that she hadn't noticed before. Her breath hitched. "Is that a way out?" The beast rumbled softly, its eyes closing as if exhausted by the effort. Lily's mind raced. If there was a weakness in the wall, maybe they could exploit it. Maybe they could escape. But how? The pit was deep and the walls were high. Even if they could break through, they would still be trapped in the ship, surrounded by Shirin guards and warlords. They needed a plan. They needed help. Lily turned back to the war beast, her voice urgent. "We need to find a way to get out of here, but we can't do it alone. We need allies." The beast's eyes flickered open again, and for a moment Lily thought she saw something like recognition in its gaze. It knew what she was saying. It knew they couldn't do this alone. But who could they trust? The Shirin were ruthless and the ship was filled with their soldiers. There was no one here who would help them. No one except... Lily's eyes widened as a thought struck her. The scientist, Vorn. He had been cold, calculating, but there had been something in his demeanor, something that suggested he wasn't entirely loyal to the warlords. He had spoken to her as if she were a tool, but he had also seemed curious, almost fascinated by her bond with the war beast. Could he be persuaded to help them, or was that just wishful thinking? Lily shook her head, pushing the thought aside. She couldn't afford to trust anyone, not yet. But she could use them. If Vorn was curious, maybe she could exploit that curiosity. Maybe she could turn it against the warlords. Her mind raced as she began to form a plan. It was risky, dangerous, but it was their only chance. She turned back to the war beast, her voice firm. "We're going to fight back," she said, "but we have to be smart. We have to play their game. For now." The beast rumbled softly, its tail curling around her once more. It understood. It would follow her lead. Lily took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never felt so small, so powerless. But she also knew she couldn't give up. She had to be strong. For the beast, for herself, for everyone the Shirin had hurt. The sound of footsteps echoed above, and Lily's head snapped up. The warlords were returning. She could see their shadows moving across the observation panels, their voices low and menacing. "Lily," the lead warlord's voice crackled through the intercom, "we trust you've had time to reflect on your disobedience." Lily's jaw clenched, but she forced herself to remain calm. She couldn't let them see her fear. She couldn't let them know she was planning something. "I have," she said, her voice steady. The warlord's lips curled into a cold smile. "Good. Then you will obey today, or the beast will suffer the consequences." Lily nodded, her heart pounding. She would obey, for now, but she would also be watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. The doors to the pit groaned open, and a new structure was lowered into the arena. This time it was a massive reinforced cage, filled with mechanical drones that buzzed and whirred with deadly precision. "Your task is simple," the warlord said. "Order the beast to destroy the drones. If it succeeds, it will be spared. If it fails..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Lily knew what would happen. She turned to the war beast, her heart aching. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "But we have to do this, just for now." The beast rumbled softly, its golden eyes meeting hers. It understood. It would obey, for now. Lily took a deep breath, her voice trembling as she gave the command, "Destroy them." The war beast surged forward, its massive body moving with a speed and power that belied its weakened state. The drones buzzed around it, their weapons firing in rapid bursts, but the beast was relentless. Its claws tore through the metal, its tail smashed the drones to pieces, and within moments, the cage was a smoking ruin. The warlords watched in silence, their expressions unreadable. Lily could feel their eyes on her, studying her, calculating. "Good," the lead warlord said at last. "Very good." But Lily knew this was only the beginning. They would keep pushing, keep testing, until they found the limits of her control, and when they did, they would use it against her. She turned back to the war beast, her heart heavy. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. And deep down, Lily knew that the next move would be hers. The days blurred together in a haze of tests and trials. Each morning, the warlords would arrive with a new challenge, a new way to push Lily and the warbeast to their limits. Each day, Lily would obey, outwardly at least. But inside she was plotting, planning, waiting for the right moment to strike. The warbeast had recovered somewhat from its ordeal, its strength returning with each passing day. But Lily could see the toll the tests were taking on it. The creature was growing restless, its golden eyes flickering with a dangerous light. It was only a matter of time before it lashed out, before it refused to obey. And when that happened, Lily knew the warlords would not hesitate to destroy it. She had to act soon. But she still didn't have a plan. Not a real one, anyway. That changed the day Vorn returned. The scientist entered the pit with his usual cold demeanor, his black uniform pristine and unruffled. But there was something different about him this time. Something in the way he carried himself, the way his eyes lingered on Lily and the warbeast. "Lily," he said, his voice smooth and measured, "I've been observing your progress. You've done well." Lily didn't respond. She didn't trust him. Not after what he had done. Vorn stepped closer, his boots clicking against the metal floor. "But I can see that you're struggling. The warlords, they don't understand the bond you share with the beast. They see it only as a weapon." Lily's eyes narrowed. "And you don't?" Vorn smiled faintly. "I see its potential, its intelligence, its uniqueness." Lily's heart skipped a beat. Was he saying what she thought he was saying? Vorn continued, his voice lowering. "I believe that the beast is more than just a weapon, and I believe that you are more than just a tool." Lily's breath caught in her throat. She didn't know what to say. Was this a trick? A test? Or was Vorn truly offering her a way out? "What do you want?" she asked, her voice trembling. Vorn's smile widened. "I want to help you. But in return, you must help me." Lily's heart pounded. "How?" Vorn glanced at the observation panels above, then leaned closer, his voice barely a whisper. "The warlords are planning something big. They intend to use the beast to destroy an entire planet, a planet that has resisted their rule. If they succeed, millions will die." Lily's stomach churned. She had known the Shiran were ruthless, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. "I can't let that happen," Vorn continued. "But I can't stop them alone. I need your help." Lily stared at him, her mind racing. Could she trust him? Could she really believe that he wanted to help her? To help the warbeast? "Why should I trust you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Vorn's expression softened, just for a moment. "Because I've seen what they've done to you, to the beast, and I know that if we don't stop them, they'll destroy everything, including you." Lily's heart ached. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that there was someone on this ship who wasn't completely evil. But she couldn't afford to be wrong. "What do you want me to do?" she asked at last. Vorn's smile returned, cold and calculating. "When the time comes, you must refuse to obey. You must turn the beast against them." Lily's breath hitched. "And if I do?" "Then I will help you escape," Vorn said. "I will ensure that you and the beast are free." Lily's mind raced. It was a risky plan, a dangerous plan. But it was also their only chance. She nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll do it." Vorn's smile widened. "Good, then we have a deal." He turned and left the pit, his footsteps echoing in the silence. Lily watched him go, her heart pounding. She had just made a deal with the devil, but if it meant saving the warbeast and herself, then it was a risk she was willing to take. The warbeast rumbled softly beside her, its golden eyes meeting hers. It understood. It would follow her lead. But as Lily sat there, her mind racing, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that Vorn wasn't telling her everything. And deep down, she knew that the next move would be the most dangerous of all. The day of the attack arrived with a cold, mechanical precision. The Shiran warship hummed with activity, its corridors filled with soldiers and technicians preparing for the assault. The air was thick with tension, a palpable sense of dread that seemed to seep into every corner of the ship. Lily sat in the pit, her heart pounding as she waited for the inevitable. The warbeast was restless, its massive body coiled tightly around her, its golden eyes flickering with a dangerous light. It knew something was coming. Something big. The doors to the pit groaned open, and the warlords entered, their expressions grim and determined. The lead warlord stepped forward, his voice cold and commanding. "Lily," he said, "the time has come. You will order the beast to destroy the target planet. If it obeys, you will both be spared. If it refuses—" He didn't need to finish the sentence. Lily knew what would happen. She turned to the war beast, her heart aching. This was it. The moment of truth. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "But we have to do this." The beast rumbled softly, its golden eyes meeting hers. It understood. It would obey. For now. Lily took a deep breath, her voice trembling as she gave the command. "Destroy it." The war beast surged forward, its massive body moving with a speed and power that shook the very foundations of the ship. The warlords watched in silence, their expressions unreadable. But as the beast approached the target, something changed. Its movements slowed, its golden eyes flickering with something like hesitation. Lily's heart skipped a beat. This was it. This was the moment. "No," she whispered. "Don't do it." The war beast stopped, its massive body trembling as it fought against the command. The warlord's eyes widened in shock and fury. "What is this?" the lead warlord roared. "Lily, order the beast to obey." Lily shook her head, her voice firm. "No, I won't let you use him anymore." The warlord's face twisted in rage. "Then you leave me no choice." He gestured to the guards, who raised their weapons, aiming them at the war beast. But before they could fire, the beast let out a deafening roar, its massive tail whipping around and smashing the weapons from their hands. Chaos erupted. The warlords shouted orders, the guards scrambled to regain control, and the war beast surged forward, its golden eyes blazing with fury. Lily watched in awe as the beast tore through the soldiers, its massive claws and tail smashing everything in its path. It was a force of nature, unstoppable and relentless. But even as the beast fought, Lily knew they couldn't win, not like this. They were outnumbered, outgunned. They needed a way out. She turned to the wall of the pit, her eyes narrowing as she remembered the crack she had seen earlier. If they could break through, maybe they could escape. "This way!" she shouted, running toward the wall. The war beast followed, its massive body smashing through the metal as if it were paper. The ship shuddered as the beast tore through the hull, the sound of alarms blaring through the corridors. Lily's heart pounded as she ran, her small legs struggling to keep up with the beast's massive strides. But as they reached the edge of the ship, Lily realized they had a problem. They were in space. There was no way out. The war beast let out a low, rumbling sound, its golden eyes meeting hers. It understood. There was no escape. But then, something unexpected happened. A small, sleek ship appeared, hovering just outside the shattered hull. The doors slid open, revealing Vorn. "Get in," he shouted, his voice urgent. Lily hesitated. Could she trust him? But she didn't have a choice. She climbed onto the war beast's back, and with a powerful leap, the creature carried her into the ship. The door slammed shut behind them, and the ship surged forward, leaving the Shiran warship behind. Lily collapsed onto the floor, her body trembling with exhaustion. The war beast rumbled softly beside her, its golden eyes filled with something like relief. Born turned to her, his expression unreadable. "You did it," he said. "You're free." But Lily knew it wasn't over, not yet. The Shiran would come after them. They would never stop. But for now, they were free, and that was enough. As the ship sped through the stars, Lily leaned against the war beast, her heart filled with a strange, bittersweet hope. They had fought, they had survived, and together they would face whatever came next.